Most people slicing bread every morning have no idea what is hidden inside those uniform slices. They trust the comforting smell. It is a dangerous illusion. We investigated 10 of the biggest bread brands filling grocery shelves across America. Florida's Department of Health pulled these loaves from store aisles and sent them to a certified lab. 6 out of 8 brands came back positive for glyphosate, the toxic chemical found in Roundup weed killer. It sits inside the finished bread you eat every single day. The worst results did not come from cheap options, but from organic labels marketed to health-conscious families. You pay extra expecting safety. Instead, you buy a scam. One brand tested above 1,000 parts per billion of glyphosate. Today, we count down all 10 from concerning to genuinely shocking, finishing with the 3 clean brands that are actually safe. Let us begin. Number 10. Great Value Whole Wheat. This is Walmart's house bread, the cheap loaf filling millions of shopping carts because it is cheap, familiar, and always in stock. Before you open the plastic bag, try a simple physical test. Press hard on the bag with your fingers. It flattens completely and bounces straight back like a synthetic foam cushion shaped into a loaf. That is your first clue that something highly engineered is happening inside. The Detox Project and the Environmental Working Group found 340 parts per billion of glyphosate inside Great Value whole wheat through independent laboratory testing. Regulators will tell you this level is perfectly legal. The Environmental Protection Agency sets the safety ceiling for glyphosate on wheat at 30,000 parts per billion. But that massive number was calculated for one isolated chemical, in one single food, for one healthy adult. It was never designed to protect a real human being. It completely ignores the grandparent already taking blood pressure medication, or the child getting glyphosate from morning cereal, afternoon crackers, and now dinner toast. Exposure stacks continuously. The regulatory math does not. Walmart generated over $713 billion in revenue last year. Sourcing cleaner grain is not a financial constraint. It is a margin decision. The 80 cents you saved came with a cost that cost $24, never listed on the label. Budget price, contaminated grain. Number 9. Market Pantry Organic. This one catches health-conscious families completely off guard. Target spent years positioning itself as the cleaner alternative for young families. Better design, intentional sourcing, and a bright green aura. Their Market Pantry whole wheat sandwich bread proudly carries a USDA organic seal. Yet independent laboratory testing revealed it contained 348 parts per billion of glyphosate. That is higher than conventional Wonderbread. It is higher than conventional Nature's Own. An organic loaf outscoring standard conventional bread in chemical contamination. How does this happen? It is driven by a phenomenon called drift contamination. When a conventional industrial farm adjacent to an organic field sprays toxic herbicide, the chemical mist does not stop at the property line. It travels with the wind, settling directly onto the organic crops. The USDA organic certification only verifies that the producer did not intentionally spray glyphosate. It does never verify that the final product is completely free from neighbor contamination. Drift testing is not required, and Target does not publish it. Parents pay a heavy price premium because they see the seal. The certification is legitimate, but the chemical contamination is also fully legitimate. The law that would require anyone to disclose this gap simply does not exist. This is not consumer protection. It is a massive hole the food industry has quietly decided to leave open. Number 8. Oroweat Organic. This is the craft heritage brand that quietly stopped being one. 2 families started baking whole grain bread together in Los Angeles back in 1932, building a genuine regional institution focused entirely on quality. In 2009, a massive multinational corporation called Grupo Bimbo acquired the brand. Since then, Bimbo has completely absorbed Arnold, Sara Lee, Thomas, and dozens of other classic names. One single multinational giant now secretly controls what shoppers believe are independent competing brands. When a global conglomerate absorbs a local craft brand, the industrial supply chain immediately takes over. The same wheat sources pre-harvest treated with glyphosate enter the network. The Environmental Working Group reported 70 parts per billion of glyphosate in Oroweat back in 2018. Bimbo quietly reformulated certain products after those independent laboratory results went public, but there has been absolutely zero public independent testing since that year. Grupo Bimbo generates over $22 billion in annual revenue. If they are testing every batch, they keep those results hidden. What sits on shelves today is uniform, ultra-soft, and chemically engineered to hold artificial freshness for weeks. You are paying for a logo. The real food was replaced years ago. Number 7. Nature's Own. Flowers Foods is one of the largest bread companies in America, generating $5 billion a year in revenue. Nature's Own is their flagship brand, a name carefully designed to imply natural, wholesome sourcing. The laboratory data exposes a completely different reality. In February 2026, Florida's Department of Health tested Nature's Own butter bread. The result came back at 190.23 parts per billion of glyphosate. Their perfectly crafted white bread hit 132.34 parts per billion. But this toxic chemical is only part of the story. Read the ingredient list on the back. You will find calcium propionate, a preservative connected to behavioral issues in children. You will find datum, a chemically modified fat, and sodium stearoyl lactylate, an emulsifier used to maintain engineered softness for weeks. Squeeze the bag. That pillowy give is not natural freshness. It is a chemical formulation. In 2025, a viral video exposed a single slice filled with water, wrung out completely, instantly springing back to its original shape without tearing. That is a sponge, not bread. In July 2025, a class action lawsuit alleged Flowers Foods falsely markets these products as containing no artificial preservatives. Margins are protected, your health is not. Number 6. Arnold Organic. Arnold has occupied American grocery shelves since 1940. When their organic line launched, health-conscious families celebrated it as a clean option from a trustworthy legacy brand. It features a USDA organic seal on the front and whole grains listed first. This combination signals total trust. What they hide is that Arnold is owned by Bimbo Bakeries USA, the same $22 billion industrial operation that controls Oroweat. Here is the specific, alarming problem. Sara Lee has been tested. Nature's Own has been tested. Dave's Killer Bread has been thoroughly analyzed. Yet Arnold Organic has absolutely zero publicly available glyphosate test results anywhere in the public domain. The silence is deafening. We cannot claim their numbers are bad because the data does not exist publicly. But Bimbo's track record across their other industrial brands makes this total silence impossible to ignore. They charge you a premium for an organic label, but they refuse to show you what that certification actually delivers. Look at the components. Organic soybean oil, organic cane sugar, cultured wheat flour, and ascorbic acid. Real bread does Wonderbread. Never hold its shape for weeks at room temperature. You are paying for a corporate logo. Number 5. Wonderbread. Wonderbread never claims to be premium or organic. It markets itself as the ultimate American family staple, the nostalgic loaf your grandmother trusted on her kitchen counter. But nostalgia will not protect your body. Florida's Department of Health tested Wonderbread Classic White in February 2026. It revealed 173.19 parts per billion of glyphosate. Now, read the ingredient label alongside that number. You will find calcium sulfate. That is the exact chemical compound used in industrial construction drywall. You will find sodium stearoyl lactylate, monocalcium peroxide, and enriched bleached wheat flour. This flour is completely stripped of natural nutrients, bleached, and then heavily fortified with synthetic vitamins to artificially replace what the harsh processing destroyed. Squeeze a slice. It collapses into nothing, then fully recovers. This is the chemical formulation expressing itself physically. Wonderbread utilizes the exact same contaminated supply chain as Nature's Own. The long-term math matters here. Eating 2 slices a day for 40 years adds up to nearly 30,000 individual servings. Exposure accumulates relentlessly. Fortunately, your body reduces its chemical load the moment you stop adding to it. Wonderbread sold you memories, but delivered industrial contamination. Number 4. Sara Lee Honey Wheat. Sara Lee has built a massive presence in American kitchens over the last 70 years. Honey wheat is their core sandwich loaf, wrapped in warm, golden packaging that signals wholesome nutrition. In February 26, Florida's Department of Health tested this loaf. The result was genuinely shocking. It registered 191.04 parts per billion of glyphosate. This was the single highest chemical reading in Florida's entire independent testing round. It scored worse than Wonderbread and worse than Nature's Own. Sara Lee posted the absolute worst contamination number in the published state data. Like the others, it is owned by Bimbo Bakeries USA. Read the label with extreme care. Honey is splashed across the front marketing, but cheap corn syrup is what actually sweetens the bread on the back label. This deceptive formulation actively works against blood sugar control, a major hazard for anyone managing type 2 diabetes. It also contains that same drywall compound, calcium sulfate, along with monoglycerides and datum. In early 2025, a viral video exposed a loaf sitting at room temperature for over 3 months without developing a single spot of visible mold. Bread that refuses to naturally spoil was engineered exclusively for a warehouse shelf, never for a human body. Number 3. Pepperidge Farm. The iconic red bag and old-fashioned lettering evoke images of a rustic kitchen garden. Pepperidge Farm has been baking since 1937. It is the premium brand people reach for when they want a step above standard choices. But look behind the legacy. Pepperidge Farm is owned by the Campbell Company, pulling in over $10 billion in annual revenue. Independent testing found 587 parts per billion of glyphosate in their 100% whole-grain whole wheat bread. Their Jewish rye and pumpernickel deli swirl tested at 531 parts per billion. That is nearly 3 times the contamination recorded by Nature's Own. The reason is specific. Glyphosate is used as a pre-harvest desiccant. Conventional farmers spray toxic Roundup directly onto standing grain crops to accelerate drying days before harvest. This final application concentrates chemical residues directly in the outer hull of the kernel. Whole wheat bread retains that hull. Choosing whole grain means choosing more exposure. Bayer has paid $11 billion to settle nearly 100,000 cancer lawsuits. Meanwhile, consumers report quality decline and severe shrinkflation, where loaf weights plummeted from 22 ounces to 14, while prices held steady. You pay a heritage premium for contaminated grain. Number 2. Dave's Killer Bread. Health-conscious shoppers reach for this product with absolute confidence. Bold graphic packaging, dense seedy loaves, and an inspiring founder story are printed on every bag. Carrying Arnold Organic and non-GMO project seals, it sits in millions of kitchens because consumers believe they solved the bread problem. Then the lab results arrived. The Alliance for Natural Health discovered 136 parts per billion of glyphosate inside Dave's Killer Bread whole wheat. State testing found 11.85 parts per billion in their white variety and 10.38 parts per billion in their whole grains. Regulators claim these numbers are low, but lower is never the same as zero. A brand building its identity as the gold standard of organic nutrition, charging a premium price, has made a promise. This is a broken promise. Flowers Foods acquired Dave's Killer Bread in 2015 for $275 million. The inspirational story stayed on the packaging, but a $5 billion corporate supply chain quietly took over the sourcing infrastructure. Shoppers now complain of a texture drier than crackers and confusion over fake sprouted grain claims. The packaging sells an illusion. The lab exposes the truth. And that brings us to number 1. The ultimate betrayal. The brand proving no label in the grocery aisle can be blindly trusted. Number 1. 365 by Whole Foods. Amazon owns Whole Foods. Whole Foods sells 365 brand organic bread. Independent testing found glyphosate at an astronomical 1,040 parts per billion in their whole wheat sandwich bread. 1,040 parts per billion. This terrifying figure sits near the absolute top of every independent testing database of consumer bread in America. This is the ultimate health halo trap. Whole Foods built a global empire on a strict promise. They proudly published over 80 banned ingredients, including bromated flour and artificial colors. Every square inch of the store experience communicates one message. Here, the standard is safer. They use this carefully crafted halo of health to make you lower your guard. You trust them completely, so you stop reading labels and stop asking hard questions. They exploit that blind trust to mask massive chemical contamination. Amazon acquired Whole Foods in 2017 for $13.7 billion. The philosophy died immediately. Former executives described how a centralized supply chain replaced their original sourcing philosophy, driven by logistics metrics rather than ingredient standards. Online customer reviews are scathing. Shoppers describe a dry, crumbling texture structurally closer to cardboard than real food. With holes so large the loaf is completely useless for sandwiches. The food industry will predictably argue that 1,040 parts per billion is well below the legal EPA ceiling of 30,000. What they deliberately hide is a landmark peer-reviewed study from King's College London. This research proved that ultra-low doses of Roundup, far below what regulators track in human food, triggered measurable, adverse changes in gene expression across thousands of transcripts in the livers and kidneys of laboratory subjects. These legal safety limits were calculated for a single, perfectly healthy adult. They completely ignore reality. They ignore the elderly consumer managing blood pressure, cholesterol, and thyroid medications simultaneously, adding heavy weed killer residues on top of everyday cereal, crackers, and pasta. You did everything right. You drove to the premium store, trusted their reputation, and paid a luxury price for a house organic loaf. The laboratory found a massive dose of toxic weed killer inside. If the retailer built entirely on health integrity cannot keep its own house brand bread clean, the entire system is a scam. Best option number 3. Food for Life. Ezekiel 4:9. There is absolutely zero flour inside Ezekiel bread. None. Food for Life sprouts 6 organic whole grains and legumes, including wheat, barley, millet, lentils, soybeans, and spelt. They bake them slowly to preserve natural nutritional density. This is not a reformulated industrial loaf with better marketing. It is a completely different process. Food for Life carries the biochecked non-glyphosate certified seal, verifying that residues are undetectable at the laboratory limit. That is the exact standard every brand on our avoid list should be held to, but is not. Ezekiel bread scores approximately 36 on the glycemic index, while white bread scores 70 or higher. For anyone managing blood sugar, that is a massive difference. The ingredient list has 11 items, all recognizable as real food. No added sugar, no preservatives, and 0 compounds with construction applications. Food for Life has been family-owned since 1964. The physical texture is dense and chewy. Look for it in the freezer section. Without preservatives, this loaf molds rapidly at room temperature. That is, never a product flaw. It is physical proof you are holding actual food. Best option number 2. 1 Degree Organics. This company does something almost no other retail bread brand in America ever bothers to do. They publish the exact farm source for every single ingredient. Scan the QR code on the bag, and trace the wheat back to the specific physical field where it grew. Not the general country, but the individual farm. 1 Degree carries the biochecked non-glyphosate certified seal and submits random product samples to accredited laboratories every single month. No regulation requires this expense. They do it because testing the finished loaf is the only way to prove integrity. Look at their minimalist ingredient list. Organic sprouted whole wheat, water, organic whole grain oats, organic cane sugar, yeast, sea salt, and organic cultured wheat. That is everything. There is 0 datum, 0 calcium sulfate, and 0 monoglycerides. Open a bag and the grain smell is immediate. The texture tears naturally instead of compressing and bouncing back like engineered foam. It behaves like something baked, not engineered. Because they refuse to hand their clean supply chain to a $5 billion operator, distribution remains limited. That inconvenience is real, but it is the necessary cost of absolute sourcing transparency. Best option number 1. Silver Hills Sprouted Bakery. If Ezekiel's density is too much of a texture adjustment, or you want a clean, everyday sandwich loaf, Silver Hills is the most practical recommendation on this list. Silver Hills is a Canadian, family-owned company. All products carry the biochecked non-glyphosate certified seal, with residues verified below laboratory detection limits. When the World Health Organization classified glyphosate as probably carcinogenic in 2015, Silver Hills stated that this classification directly shaped their sourcing standards. That is a company responding to evidence rather than lobbying against it. Their loaves deliver fiber, whole grains, and protein. The Omega Amazing variety is a verified source of omega-3 ALA. The full lineup is plant-based, non-GMO verified, and certified vegan. In the United States, look for them at Sprouts and Whole Foods. Every batch is tested, with no corporate parent running a margin calculation that overrides the sourcing standard. Unlike Ezekiel, the texture is hearty but soft enough for a sandwich straight from the bag. It is the most approachable clean option for anyone making the switch. The price is higher, and availability depends on your region. Both trade-offs are real, but they are the natural result of a company that tests every batch and sources exactly what it promises. Before you close this investigation, remember one minimalist rule for your next supermarket trip. Stop buying bread sold at room temperature with more than 5 ingredients on the label. That single rule instantly removes almost every dangerous brand from our avoid list without requiring deep corporate research. Flip the bag and count the ingredients. Real bread requires only flour, water, salt, and yeast. Everything beyond that was added exclusively to extend shelf life, simulate fake freshness, or reduce sourcing costs at the expense of your health. Look past the standard Arnold Organic seal. It only verifies that glyphosate was not intentionally applied on the field. It does never verify that glyphosate is absent from the finished loaf. Look instead for 2 independent certifications requiring laboratory testing of the finished product: Biochecked Non-Glyphosate Certified and the Non-GMO Project Verified seal. One is a vague promise about a process. The other 2 are proof of a clean result. Buy from the freezer section when you can. Bread that survives for weeks on a counter was engineered for a corporate supply chain. Bread that molds in a few days was built for you. If this investigation exposed the hidden truth and changed how you view your morning toast, pass it along to a family member who buys these toxic brands regularly. It protects the people you love,